Hello, everyone. I know I've been gone for a while, and I do apologize. Oh, but I'm back. We're gonna do some druid stuffs. Uh, question is, what are we gonna do? I think we're gonna go try a dungeon. Oh, the armor charm's not working. There we go. Now we got our armor back. Whoops. Much better. Getting hit for 5 over 12 is a whole lot easier. hologram. We're up to enough XP for level 19. Little boy. Little coffee bean boy.
Something down so we can bring it back.
Someone's placebo.
Win.
I really should get my miner going again. I haven't run it in weeks.
Certainly looks like Indy Day has been garden today.
Alright, this guy's gonna hurt, so gotta get her health up. Oh, I got myself paralyzed. Did it again. I have a pinned? I think I got a pinned. What we needed. Oh, I'm taking 0 damage at times. That's awesome. Yeah, we got him. Alright, we're gonna heal up before we pull anything out of that room. It goes down. Excuse me. Darn it, I did not want to pull the whole room, but clicking that switch is really hard. I should be able to take a spider and a gremlin. Maybe. Ooh, excuse me. I don't know if I'm. Oh, I am getting XP. No, I'm not getting XP. Holy crap. So we're just gold farming right now. One more level and I'll be 20, and I think I'll go ahead and level up to 20 once I hit 20. But actually, no, I've got a few debts I gotta pay first. back into the fray.
Hey,
I was the light bearer, flaring the pitch black. Now I pace in the silence where the stars won't clap.
you're back.
Screaming to the sky like I'm trying to talk back, but
Really
God knows Steve
neat.
left me on red with the facts. Thoughts scatter like ash in a funeral pyre. ADHD mind got a million live wires. Start a mission, then I spiral, then I'm wired, then I'm tired, then I drown in the noise of the angels I inspire. I ain't evil, I'm just misunderstood.
You were
Questioned the
really
plan,
good.
got
Made you
banned from the
back.
good. Now I'm
No,
stuck
and
in a
I
loop.
couldn't even
Thoughts
get
can't
a
sleep with a
comfy
mind
ship.
like mine. Even hell runs deep.
Didn't stop.
Depression's a throne with a crown
And
made
no
of
fear.
lead. I wear it well, but it's heavy in the head. I see beauty in chaos, but can't hold a thread. Can't focus on heaven when I'm breaking instead. I asked you why pain, you said free will, but I see you children popping pills just to feel still. And I ain't trying to start a war, just keep it real. You made minds like mine, so how's that free will feel? I pace like a prophet, but forget what I say. Ideas bloom fast and they rot in a day. Every storm's a fire, then it fades into gray. I'm a genius on Monday, lost soul by Friday. I got a choir in my head that don't harmonize. Every voice tries to scream, every angel lies. I can quote your scripture, still feel despised. Still trying to find purpose in the noise and the highs. I ain't evil, I'm just misunderstood. Question the plan, got banned from the good. Now I'm stuck in a loop.
Come on.
My thoughts can't sleep with a mind like mine. Even hell runs deep. I ain't evil, I'm just misunderstood. Question the plan and got banned from the good. Now I'm stuck in a loop where my thoughts can't sleep. With a mind like mine, even hell runs deep. They call me cursed, but I carry the weight of every misfiring mind that you made too late. Neurospicy and wired like I'm built to break. Trying to mask my fire for appearance's sake. I loved you once, still do in a way, but I bleed for the lost every time I pray. So if that makes me wrong, I got nothing to say. Just know I never left, I was pushed away. Maybe I'm your shadow, maybe I'm your cry. Maybe I'm the side of God that dared to ask why. And if loving too much is the cause of my fall, then maybe I'm still rising, just answering the call.
Gotcha. Haha. Oh, if we hit 20, we're gonna have to fail. Yeah, we gotta bail. Going on here, this isn't Legend of Dragoon. No, it's not. It's Ultima Online. But I will play Legend of Dragoon with you after the stream.
Ain't got a plan. Meant to save the world, but got lost on the way.
Or not with you, obviously, because it's single player, but how are you liking it? Have you played it yet?
I'd help White run, but I'm fishing instead. 1 foot in avant-garde, 1 in the past. Trying to move forward, but I never last. I'm the dragonborn, but I don't feel strong. Starting new journeys, but they don't last long. Too many choices, can't settle down. Lost in the wilds of this.
Yeah, give me that sweet magic resistance. You'll like it. I like the graphics aren't great, but you know it's retro, obviously. But the story's really solid.
Homes in solitude, rifted and mold, but none of them feel like they got an open door. Books on my shelves that
Yeah, I ain't never read.
Same with my thoughts bouncing
Around in my head.
Meant to slay dragons, meant to be great, but I'm mixing
Oh,
potions instead.
staying up late.
Friends all moved on, took their own path.
What are you playing this morning?
Chasing what I had. I'm the dragonborn, but I don't feel strong. Starting new journeys, but they don't last long. Too many choices, can't settle down. Lost in the wilds of this old town.
No, we're almost out of bandages. We gotta run and wash our bandies.
Is it the curse of a
Or maybe we should go do some harpies. I know it's kind of dangerous to stream and do open world stuff, but you know that's part of the game. Like
I'll stick to the plan.
And part of being a streamer is getting stream sniped.
Right now,
Although, like, for the most part, they've been really cool about it.
so I'll roam
When I have gotten caught outside, they haven't killed me. They've, like, popped up and been like, hey, I could have killed you, but I didn't.
maybe inside I'm gone when it's all said and done. I'll finally
Fine, I'll find different water.
finished one.
Meow. Pokemon on GBA. Nice! Pokemon's gotta have a ton of achievements. Did I tell you there's a multiplayer Pokemon for Game Boy Advance?
Got homes in solitude, rifting and
It's a mod or like a program. I don't know how to describe it. But the long story short, it takes like 4 Pokemons that you can switch between while playing, and you see other players while you're playing, and you can battle them and trade with them, and all right there in the game.
chasing what I had.
He's just scared of it. I think Molly is too. And me too.
You gonna wash these darn band-aids? Like, let's go.
Or just my own mind. Too many roads, but none that feel right.
I did select water.
Maybe one day I'll stick to the plan. But right now I'm just a wandering man. So I'll roam these mountains.
Alright, that ain't gonna count as water, I guess. Too shallow or something. I don't know. But yeah, I used to play it, Vin, and it was pretty fun. It could be a little clunky, but it was fun.
Inventory's full of pain, I can't throw no side quest gold, no
Even a nifty little nifty
little players all counting on him. Mama's glitched out, stuck in the base. Anxiety loops like a timed escape, and I'm stuck here fighting
Being
boss
all
after
together.
boss. No cheat codes, no pause, just taking the loss. But I'm still here though. My scars
Alright, we should be able to watch off of this.
I beg to be dead. Tired of losing, but I'm still in the fight. No say.
There we go.
I'll go one more night. I ain't got much.
It only gives us 46 band-aids, though. We should probably go get a few more.
Yeah, the game ain't fair, but I'm holding tight. Giving all I got for one more life.
Oh, thank you, brother.
Drawing sharp lines with a soft heart child. The 9-year-old's got
That was funny.
but I see the cracks in the armor they made. My healer sits with a soul that glows, but his mana burns fast like the ocean flows.
Is there anything that you could do?
Dragons in blue, trying to cast friendship, but the spells fall through. And the baby, man, he's already smart, like he spawned in game with the leveled up heart. I keep wondering if they'll make it okay. If I can do one more day, but I'm still here though. My screen's gone red, still respawning though I beg to be dead.
The cat, can I catch up to him now? Where'd he go? There he is. Oh, I saw you. You were right there. You're streaming. You know.
Good thing I have all my clothes on. Letting you know, I cleared off the whole entire bed. I did not bring it down. Because all my stuff is right there. My water bottle. The water bottle was there. My phone was there. My lighter was there. But
Wow.
nothing.
I don't know where it is then. Lost it again.
That room is just
You know you
about-
had it.
I don't do that because I swear I had this one and put it down. But the baby, the room is just about done. I took out 3 bags of garbage. Think about this, we weren't even in that.
I know. That's, you know, why I kept saying down there, supervise.
McDonald's bags, Burger King bags.
No, that might have been Ashley. I'll be the last place you. It'll be the last place you look. Yeah, more than likely.
I did that.
But if you didn't take it down there with you, then it's over there somewhere.
In the bathroom.
Could be in the bathroom. I'm just saying the last place I had it was while I was asleep. You know what? Yeah, let's go hit the harpies.
Hey, let's have a little snuggle.
Oh,
Molly wants to have snuggles.
Yeah.
I want snuggles now.
oh Jesus. After stream,
In our big bed?
sure.
Yay.
I gotta figure out how I'm getting the modem and router into the bedroom.
I believe there is a spot for it.
Yeah, I just gotta make sure it's actually hooked up.
And I am going to look for something for free for computer desks for a two-person. So this way we can sit side by side and play.
That would be cool. I would enjoy that.
But I wanted to buy you one and you hollered at me.
I hollered at you for the ones that were like super fancy, and I'm like, no, I'm happy with a simple desk.
The reason why I like the fancier ones is they have built-in USB ports into the desk. And with all of the stuff that we need USBs for, it would have worked out better.
So those built-in USBs are for power, not for like the computer.
Right, but it has outlets too. So we could have plugged in our gaming controllers and things like that.
To charge them, yes, not to use them. You've actually used it in the bathroom last night. Oh my god.
What?
Vindex just being silly. Yo.
I keep dropping heels, no hot bar fix for the way this feels. Try to farm joy in caverns deep, but these shadows just won't let me sleep. I need a moon king, I need a rest. And
Thanks for my brittle chest.
life ticks down like a timer trap. Stuck in a house with no recall map. I'm feeling great in a world that kills. No healer in sight, just unpaid bills. I sold stone out
The harpies do hit quite a bit harder.
and out of time. If I could find a shrine, I'd try to resurrect. But the angst are cold, the world's a wreck. Maybe there's a backup on some old disc where I still laughed, still felt risk. Maybe there's a player who sees my ghost and counts resurrection with me.
Okay.
I'm like really
Need a
sorry.
rest. Why?
Not in the reptile room, not in.
Check around the edge of the bed. Maybe I fell asleep with it and you just think you used it this morning.
And
Thank you.
so I was smoking that.
Yeah. Which one are you gonna take downstairs?
I hope you the dead one. So this way.
Okay.
Okay. Find my vacuum.
Use mine.
That's much time over every time.
Okay.
I knew you would.
And in Ash's defense, where's she supposed to put it? Like, we haven't been keeping a trash bag down there.
There's a trash bag in the.
Okay.
There's a huge contract. Yeah, it's so hot that he wouldn't even that he looked like he was dying.
The chinchilla?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And why it's like no we need out. Like and this and fix it, I just bring it out. It'll break in front of the hair. No?
I thought they were a desert animal.
They're from Australia, but they still overheat. When our electric went out in Seaside and it was 120 degrees outside, me and my mom's apartment was 120, okay? And one of our chinchillas died due to heat exhaust.
Oh wow.
Yeah, that's why they hide in shaded areas in Australia.
Makes sense.
But I'm thinking about bringing all of the reptiles in our bedroom up here.
Okay.
That's not happening today, but only so this way I don't have to worry about it.
Well, unless I actually rent this place, like eventually he's gonna want to rent it. Rent it out. Oh Lord, get it. Come on, kill one. We're getting there. There we go, we got one dead. We'll go ahead and heal for a minute. Run, bear, run! Alright, that should be enough. Let's get him.
Spiral slides and candy streets, pixel dreams that never sleep. I chase the colors, chase the sound, but I can't ever slow it down. Spinning thoughts like a Ferris wheel, every turn a brand new feel. Jumping worlds, can't pick a lane. I love the rush, I hate the strain. My mind's a glitch, it loops and spins, loading screens inside my skin. I try to focus, try to stay, but I get lost along the way. Danny's world is pulling me, cotton candy memories. Every door's a sweet.
Oh, having that stone golem there is gonna suck.
Click reset, let's go again. Lose myself inside, pretend. Relax and face my hands. Welcome to my
Oh, yes, you want one now?
Yes, please. Is that the good one?
Yeah.
Oh.
No, no.
Welcome to my wonderland. Jumping castles, neon signs. Left my tasks so
Might not actually get the regular one dead.
quest or maybe two. What was I supposed to do? My brain's a maze, no map inside. Chasing stars and changing sides.
Come on, one more.
Now I break 100 worlds,
Nope.
1,000 fates.
Run away.
It loops and spins, loading screens inside my skin.
You're such a weird child.
Try to stay, but I get lost along the way. Dandy's world is pulling me, cotton candy memories. Every door's a
Mama getting our room back together. Come back downstairs. Yeah.
Why did it stop healing? Like I'm just running. That was weird. Like, oh, we're done. We're not done. We're not full health yet.
Welcome to my wonderland. Too much noise, too much light. I love this place.
The stone one got bored, I guess.
Every thought just falls apart. Too much magic breaks my heart. Round and round I spin away. Maybe lost is where I'll stay. Danny whispers, don't be scared. Guess I'll find my focus there.
Do, 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 do.
Dandy's world is pulling me, cotton candy memories. Every door's a sweet escape, but I forget the path I take. Click reset, let's go again. Lose myself as I pretend. Danny laughs and takes my hand.
Welcome to my wonderland. Come on, we can take a stone harpy. Let's go.
Welcome
Oh,
to
you.
my wonderland.
Got him.
Spawned in Freeport, no map, no guide. Lost
Ooh.
in the dark with the pain inside. Pulling mobs,
I'm
but
feeling it today. It's gonna drop something
stay
nice.
strong, but I'm losing track. Got my buffs up, but they fade too fast. Guildmates talk, but I'm stuck in the past. Try to hold on, one more quest, but the way
You're terrible, and you took the back again, didn't you? Yes. He's in there giggling.
Well, I think I deserve it after this.
Yes, you do. This mother of all peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. Look at this. Look at it. It's a triple decker. Or signature for me. Can't keep my bed. I know.
That's what he does with his lips too. He goes like this.
Yep.
Camp in the spawn, but no loot.
Where is your back?
Waiting for hope, but the timer stops. No resurrection, no
You see?
second try. What if this time
I would bet it's in the other room. You know, from when you were cleaning the room so I could do a tattoo.
the sky? Maybe I'll see you on the other side.
No comment?
Slim Shady?
Yeah.
We still got 2, 4, 6 more harpies there and 1 there. This is like the mother load of harpies.
Shadows and nectalos, thoughts in my head.
Oh, it came around.
But I tell him no.
Oh, it's such so good.
Test. Trying to find light, but I'm lost like the rest.
But it's feeling that's what's going on.
Shadows and nectalos,
Okay?
thoughts in my head. Fighting these
Nothing bad.
undead. Rest at the end, but I still don't sleep. This game in my mind both cut too deep. Looking for purpose.
Come on, we can take a stone golem or harpy.
Right mind, my friends.
But don't ask me where I got golem from.
Stuck in the grind, losing my time. Respawn or release, fight or let go. The Reaper keeps calling.
You can do it. Go, Druid, go.
Every day's a test. Try to find light, but I'm lost like the rest.
Oh, you know what else I forgot to do?
Camp in the spawn, but
Forgot to get food. That's why we're struggling.
timer stops. No resurrection, no second try. What if this time I just say goodbye?
Got it. All right, let's see if we can actually create food.
Started out in the forest light, stick in hand,
Yeah.
birds in flight, swinging
Yeah.
at feathers with baby on my knee. He's giggling while I'm losing XP, scrolling one hand, bottle in the other, wipe down, mana up.
Did it?
Diaper bomb like a dragon's breath.
Today I
Locked in, ain't scared.
Yeah, it did. There it is. should really set up a macro for this.
My mind wanders, but they open doors. I miss half the quest text, forget the map, but somehow I'm still dodging every trap. Mental tabs open like 25, but my shapeshift skills keep me alive. Q lost in the U, I forgot my form again, but thought of there doesn't matter, I'm born to win.
Oh, sorry, everybody. Oh, where'd that food go?
You in the office again?
Yeah, it's in the back somewhere. Oh, sorry, everybody. Alright, but we are stuffed now, which means that we will hit a lot more often. Probably heal too.
Those trades were made, Slavendita with the sacred lore, my mind wanders, but they open doors. I miss half the quest text, forget the map, but somehow I'm still dodging every trap. Mental tabs open like 25, but my shapeshift skills keep me alive. It's dungeon deep, friends beside me, baby in a onesie. Diaper wipes, cool downs, shapeshifts. This is gaming creep. I'm the beast in the tree, shapeshifted and free. I'm the king of the crawl and the diaper debris. I'm the dad with the dash, the wolf with the mic. Sneaking past bedtime to solo the night. Bear the dog, dog to flame. ADHD, but I still bring game.
Split them up. Yeah. Oh, the cake. No, don't you do it, Stone. There we go. Good, Stone Golem.
Baby, can't you see? I'm checking chic. One's missing flea. Love pains, a war zone, thieves on the roam. Claim the Rambro, use emo shame. I'm too nice to rage, but you ninja that horn. You popped it with flea, and now I'm torn. Died to an orc, cause I stopped to type. Enjoy your curse cure as you absolute snipe. Too many tells in my box. Yo, you are toxic.
Now you
detox. Eating my Kool-Aid with pop rocks. Exploded my HP bar. I saw God. With a shout like that, you're toxic. Toss and blade like bombs and dynamite. I'm addicted to the drama hit. You know that you're toxic. Ooh, disband so quick, you're toxic. Link shells lit like Ifrit's pit. Still, I can't seem to quit. You know that we're toxic.
Ooh, I got a rune out of that.
No one heals in this LS fight. We wipe to gobs, then blame the blight. AFK'd and windy, you're dead to me. We need a refresh and your MP. You sold
Ooh, and not a bad one either.
now 6 bars deep and burned
I
out.
think.
Macro drain on the boss, I swear. We ain't per math, you're ready. He just don't care. Too many wipes on this clock. Still rocking sub-jobs for like 2.0 stock. Eating fireworks on July 4th. Kool-Aid burst, I got KO'd on the porch. With a shit like that, you're toxic. Casting Dia on the lines, that's chaotic. But I'm addicted to the drama hit. You know that we're toxic. Ooh, disband so quick, you're toxic. Link shells lit like Ifrit's pit. Still, I can't seem to quit. You know that we're toxic. No one had words on this clock.
Today listening to your tunes.
Still rocking sub-jobs from like 2.0 stock.
And you got
Beating fireworks on July 4th. Kool-Aid burst, I got KO'd on the porch. With a shout like that, you're toxic. Casting Dia on gods, that's chaotic. But I'm addicted to the drama hit. You know that we're toxic.
Yeah.
Ooh, I got so slick, you're toxic. Still locked in when the tank got crit. We're cursed, but we won't quit. You know
Yeah,
that we're
we're
toxic. I should leave, but I'm still on.
Now, you need some good feedback. Small?
XP chains with half LS crew.
And one's on the loo.
With a shout like that, you're toxic. Link shells curse like Doom from BBD, but I just can't stop that dopamine hit. You know that you're toxic. We rise and grin, we're toxic. Wiping on birds with necks smell like still. I love the stupid bit. You know that it's toxic.
Level up, get the final harpy out of there, and see if we get loot. Because if somebody's done it in, like, I want to say it's the last 4 hours, then there won't be any loot. It'll be coal.
Trouble keeps finding him, lucky for he's got
Name.
me.
Noisy Joe lives in the jungle.
Nib shakes her head, says not again. Patching up wounds while I flash
Hey,
her. She's got quick hands and a sharper mind. She's always 2 steps behind.
Come on, stone harpy, just fall down and die. Do it for us.
There. She could be hurt.
No control with a heart of gold.
We make our own luck, so the legends told.
Yeah, we got loot.
Angel laughing at fate, rolling the dice, never playing it safe. If the guards start shouting, we're already gone. Felix and Nib's Troy's favorite.
All right, let's get out of here before we get murdered.
Jungle. No, Joe.
Ranger. Ranger. Enough.
Never even met. It had no idea it was this big. No, I did not.
No control and a raffle cleric with a heart of gold. We make our own luck, so the legends.
Yeah, the bus is here is why he's barking. The kids get out early for some unapparent reason. So all week too.
Yes. Noisy Joe.
Run, horsey, run.
No, very bad.
Nothing to see here, just a random horse coming through.
Look at it's in this new friend. Isn't easy. Noisy Joe.
Yay, we completed an open world spawn. Alright, let's see what we got. We got a tincture of experience level 15. That's nice.
Noisy Joe. People could say, now boy, it didn't hurt any plant
What
here.
do we got here? A rare giant axe.
Now,
That could be good for our berserker. We got some stuffs.
You don't have to eat, so
Half of these regions, I don't even know what's for.
much in this.
Alright, let's see if it saved my organizer. That would be nice, but been having trouble with the saving part of it. I don't know. Hey, look at that, it did. Let's see, we're going to that hot bag is what we want.
Where we can be really loud.
What we got in here? Nope, not that bag. That's the bag we want. Okay. So that hot bag. Clear the hot bag. No, stop. What?
You did not. It's your knife. Clean it.
Weird. It says clear hot bag, but then it has me target. I don't know. All right, let's organize. Yeah, look at how quick that was. That was awesome. I love it. That makes me happy inside. We're gonna put our tinctures in here. I don't think I'm gonna use them on this character. I'm gonna save them for when I do new characters and just blow through the first levels by using them, you know? I think that's a good idea. Now, what chest do I have my golds in? Ah, that was smart. Actually, wasn't too. I guess I don't have any gold in the bank, so we're gonna have to put it all in this one. Jeez. Wonder what brimstone is for. I got a lot of these random regents that I don't know what they're for. Like, I've got regular regents, obviously. But like volcanic ash, not sure what it's for. Deadwoods. Yeah. Well, mandrake root's obvious. We know what that's for. Fertile dirt, we know it's for gardening. What's this? Blackmore, no idea. Blood spawns, no idea. Got pumices, no idea. Am I gonna exfoliate? Is that the plan? I would assume some of these are like necromancer, ranger, and knife. She's downstairs cleaning. Why don't you go help? Bat wings, garlic. There we go. Now at least it looks a little better. All right, now let's find our loot bag. I know we got a loot bag somewhere. Nope. I never remember which bag is the loot bag. Well, it might be that. Might be this right here. Nope, not that. Is it this? That's the one. Let's stuff this in here. These are all magic items that aren't worth using. They're unidentified. Yeah, these are all unidentified. Eventually, I gotta ID these. That would be a smart thing to do, you know? Might as well put this in there. And let's just put all the unID'd stuff in here. That's unID'd. Oh wait, no, that's not unID'd. That's ID'd. Are you ID'd? Magic heavy crossbow? No, you're not. That one's ID'd. Massive sword. Pretty sure the rest of it's ID'd, yeah. So this is my magic junk, this is my magic unID'd. Don't ask me why I'm saving just regular old arrows. But I am. All right. Not a bad little run. I'm really curious what that rune is. Let's find out. It is not done. Fine, I'll do it myself. Chasing that rush, but it's slipping from me. Start up a quest, then I wander away. Meant to find purpose, but I'm slaying all day. Burning hearts on low. Guilt chat's talking, but I just don't know. Oh, just tell me what it is.
Tamriel calls, so I sat on my steed, looking for answers in books I don't read, jumping through zones, running too fast, swear I'll commit, but it never lasts. Start a new build, switch it up, skill trees full, but it ain't enough. Another distraction, another delay, try to stay focused, but I fade away. I'm a restless wanderer, lost in the fight, start a new story, but I'm gone by night. Maps full of markers, but I can't stay chasing that feeling that always fades away.
Oh Lord, come on. All right, maybe if I select a couple things. Here, we'll select the gold pile.
Is it the world, or is it just me?
Ah, that didn't work either. All right, I don't care. I don't care enough to keep going. I know I got a bag of runes in here somewhere.
Depression's the shadow, I can't
Hey.
set right. Maybe one day I'll find my way, stick to the path, let the journey stay. But till then I'll be riding
No,
on,
Molly's ready.
Yep, there it is.
trying to belong.
I got a ton of these. I got soul. I've got a mal. I've got a hell. Is, and whatever that is. I don't know. I'm collecting runes. I don't know why, because I guess you need a scroll as well to make rune words. So like, you know, I'm still a long ways off from making a rune word.
But trying to belong.
All right, so this, I need to put these in with the other pets. Because we've got a, what is this? A grizzly bear and a snow leopard. Always fades away.
Even she.
Do you know what the fish does? Oh, that's Dex. Dex is helpful. I mean, Dex is definitely helpful. Be nice if this you could wear this and it would like transform with you as long as you're transforming into a bear. That would be kind of neat. All right, let's go hit another one. Or we could go exploring. You guys want to go exploring? Like, let's go see if we can find an open world spawn we haven't done yet. What are you crying for? You got your TV show? She like, no, I'm trying to take it off so I can get you out. Stop do that. I'm like trying to get you out. You're like trying to fall out. Say how this works. There you go. There you go. You little pain in the butt. Would have been funny. I actually would have laughed if, like, at that point I'm messing with the baby and that's when I get PvP'd. Like, that would have been funny. I honestly would have laughed. What do you think? Can we take a rat warrior? Give it a shot. Oh, he just. Oh, Jesus! No, we can't. No, we cannot take that. Holy crap! Those things are strong. Wow! What level are those? That's a big GTFO. Mommy, that hurt. That hurt a lot. All right, let's check Discord because I know a lot of people like to send me messages in Discord. Nope, no Discords. All right, let's go find a spawn we can do. I can't wait until I'm strong enough to actually do that. I would love to see what you get from doing that. Troll. We could probably do a troll. Let's see. Yeah, I think we could do a troll. Wrestling is still quite a bit lower than we need it. I wish there was like a whoa, he dropped a bag? A bag of knowledge. What is in a bag of knowledge? Nothing is in a bag of knowledge. Oh, somebody just did it, that's why. Okay. And recent too, look.
You ready for your check?
Ooh, let's tame the llama. Can we tame llamas yet? Let's find out. Ooh, what is that? A Knoll warrior. I don't know that we're gonna be able, if we can't take a Ratman warrior, we'll try it, but I don't know. 14 off the rip. I can probably kill it, but it's gonna be difficult. The death definitely helps. Like, I seem to be hitting more. And slightly faster. Every chest that I open is empty inside. Try force of courage, but I'm losing my pride. Master sword heavy, I can't lift the pain. Lost in the lost boys, often in the rain. Oh, that was a whole heal right there. No, don't run away. No, get back here. No, we got the others. Alright, I think we're okay. I want to see what he drops, you know? He licked his wounds and gained 24 HP. What? That's nuts. That's a heal and a half. Alright, we out. He's gonna keep licking his wounds for 24 HP a shot. Alright, maybe we're not out yet. I really want to kill this thing. I don't know why. I just do, okay? Won't matter if we can't hit it. He licked his wounds again. Stop licking your wounds. If I can't heal in battle, why can you? Alright, we're out. We're out. We're running away. Little man, I don't need a blanket. Right now I need some health. An undead warrior. Oh god. Oh god, that is scary. I'm very scared by that. But we're gonna give it a try. As soon as I heal up. Alright, he's only whacking me for 8. Nope, 13. This is gonna be interesting. If he doesn't lick his wounds, we could take him. It'd just take a while. No, we're not gonna mess with him. Those look like orcs. Let's switch to our horse so we can get moving.
I've been running chasing neon ghosts. Drinking with my demons, but they never make a toast. Out here on the dark side, where the lost souls ride. ADHD got me spitting, but I'm still gonna try.
I'm here for a second. Okay, what's up? Oh no, I could do some goblins. Where are these goblins at? Oh, is that what's down here? No, that's not what's down there. I'm gonna bet it's over here. Yep. All right, let's try a goblin. No, I don't want to attack the darn deer. Oh, Jesus. Goblins hit hard too. I'm gonna guess to the left is all the hard spawns then, because like nothing we've seen to the left has been doable. Except for this one. We could probably pull off the trolls. But Undead and Ratman have been out of our league. Ogres are probably, so those were ogres, not orcs. Let's see what else we can find. We got swamp. What is that? An umber ranger. Ranger. Oh my god. Ranger. Lay down. You are just a bark machine today. Wonder if that's a thing, a bark machine. The musings of Papa Strange. Oh, we found a brigand camp, but I've cleared that whole thing, and they don't give treasure, so I'm not gonna bother. Ooh, look at that! Somebody's got a nice house. When I can afford it, I'm gonna get a house out here. I'm gonna put it like right here, a big old house. Maybe I can convince the devs that I stream enough to be worth giving a house to. Yeah, right. Someday when I'm like making money, I'm definitely going to donate to this server, because this server is so phenomenal. The devs are actually very good about fixing bugs and fixing bugs and balancing and doing new content. Like I'm amazed. For an little indie, I'm doing this for free group. They do a lot of work, like a lot of work. What's up, Scarlett? What? Hi.
Well, can I get a bite?
Sure. Are they not feeding you lunch now? Right. You have half days all week, so I need to know if they're gonna give you lunch or not the whole week. All right. What is this city? Is this the PvP city?
My teacher stuff.
We're gonna find something to do.
Stupid for hearing.
What's on the other side of this here rock? Nothing. Ooh, fallen. We could try a fallen. Let's drop aggro from the other stuff first, though.
How much stuff?
Fuck yeah, that's covered in mold. Throw the bag of bagels away. Yeah, that is so bad. Well, I mean, technically it's not bad because bread mold is not harmful, but you don't want to eat it. Terrifies creatures. Oh, it must be a like anti tamer thing. I can see why they drop red leather. And they're not hard to kill, believe it or not. Like, that was pretty easy. Bring it, Mr. Fallen. I'm down to try this. So this is a Diablo mob. One of the things the devs do is they have a lot of Diablo themed stuff on the server. And I really enjoy it. What's up? You're gonna have to ask your mom on that one. Yes, Ezra is home. If you can wait a little bit, I'll make you something to eat, but you gotta wait a little bit. Okay? Your mom's currently cleaning the bedroom because I'm moving back downstairs today. Yes. I wonder if the shamans actually raise the fallen. I never noticed during the dungeons because we kill so fast. I will say, like, it is taking quite a while for wrestling to raise now. I need to ask the guys if there's like a dummy that I can set up on, or a golem or something like that that I can hit to raise my wrestling, because it is woefully under leveled, as you can see. Come on out. Come on. You're gonna run this way, Bella. No. You run way fast. But you were easy to kill, so I'm not gonna complain. That was a cool looking tree. Did you see that tree? We're gonna go back and check that tree out in a minute. Paralyzing me. You see this? I really should get some hypnotics.
Just in case.
Okay. Definitely not gonna say no to you helping your mom. As long as she's okay with it. Not paralyzed. But at least I'm poisoned now, so the paralyzed won't last long. God. Oh, nah. What we got for a potion here? And it's an empty bottle. You failed to cure the poison. You failed to cure the poison. I don't know if this will actually give a bag or not, but you know, it's worth a shot. And either way, it's new enemies that I've never killed on my own, so I'm not gonna run away from it, you know? We are whacking the crap out of him. 37 HP, like, that's pretty big damage. However, he's kind of hurting. Yeah, we're gonna heal up a little bit before we finish him off. Oh Lord. Ooh, there we go. That's scary. Alright, now we can finish him, I think. Terrifies creatures. Yeah, you're not terrifying me. I'm not a creature. I'm a druid. I'm a druid, baby. Oh yeah. Get it. Get it. Oh, nah. Don't ask me why I'm doing the nah, but you know, whatever. Where's the baby? Is the baby watching it? Then yeah, we probably can. Just give me a minute.
I was farming suffering just to stay on my feet. I respawned in the shadows, no cheat codes to save. Life hit like a boss fight, I rose from the grave. Controller in my hand, yeah, I'm at my own path, no safe
Here,
files, just
I found the anime you wanted to see.
pixel by pixel, I built what they broke. Yeah, yeah. No tutorial mode, just a kid with hope. Then the devs flipped the script, placed a trap in my bed. Claimed I picked up an item that poisoned my head.
Remember the one you asked me about with the seven people and each one had a different thing? That's this one. You wanted it, I found it, and I kept it pulled up just for you. Yeah, remember this though, because like I do these things because, you know, I want you to be happy, but you got to be doing the things that you need to do. Okay, like hygiene and keeping your room clean. Watching your brother once in a while. Okay?
Okay.
No tutorial mode, just a kid with hope.
Because despite what your mom thinks, and she really doesn't think it comes off a lot worse when your mom says it, but like we know you're capable. Okay? Like, I'm not ever gonna let you use the fact that you have autism as an excuse. Okay? I know you well enough to know you're capable, and I want to play video games with you eventually. I can try. I would, but my speaker just fell. Oh, my camera fell too. Sorry, everybody, give me a second. Ah, crud. Alright, we're gonna have to turn the music down a little bit because Coda wants to watch some anime, and currently the music's overpowering the anime. I'll adjust it in OBS so that you guys can hear it.
Magazine is considered the demon of the fight.
All right, let's see. There we go. You guys should still be able to hear it now. Oh, and the camera's still all messed up. There we go. Maybe. I don't know. There we go. That'll work. That'll work even better. Okay. It'll buff. Alright, let's go find some. So we did that little fallen camp. There was not any bags with it, so that's just a themed XP camp, which is cool. I like themed XP camps. What we got? Whoa, what are these guys? A minor storm elemental. I don't know if I'll be able to take a storm elemental, so I'm gonna try one. If we can get one by itself.
With depression's potions. HP's low, but I keep the motion.
I don't know. It'd be hard to get one by itself. There's a lot of them. All right, we got two. We're gonna have to try it with two. See how it goes. 6 HP. They're hitting pretty consistently. One-on-one, I could probably take one. I can't hit it though. I haven't been able to hit it once yet. So yeah, we're gonna get out of here. I'm betting that's a higher level mob that just hits fast for little damage. I'm gonna bet that's what that thing's shtick is. All right, so there's that. Let's see. Let's scroll out on the map a little bit, see where we are. Go see if there's anything in the snow territory. I mean, the bonus is anytime I get hurt, I'm getting veterinary skill ups. But I haven't gotten a single wrestling skill up the whole day. I really need to look into that. I'll have to ask the guys if there's a way to macro wrestling or something. Maybe if I like do it as a druid and like PvP my alt, maybe, and like attack my alt with attack my alt and have my alt heal itself, maybe. I don't know. I don't know if that's allowed by the rules. Well, I'll have to look into it. Dito will know. Dito or any of the guys will know, really. You know what? How about we jump in Discord? We'll jump in the English Breakfast Discord and see if anybody comes to hang out. I think that's a good idea, right? Dungeon organizer. We got one on. Oh, that was yesterday's. But maybe somebody will come hang out in the English Breakfast Discord. If nobody comes to hang out in a little bit, we'll jump in the Endor Discord, see if anybody comes to hang out there with us. Now, we still got 114 clean band-aids. We got plenty total, so I'm not worried about band-aids. What's over here? Big open farm looking. Why are they red? Like, they're always red. Can't I find a friendly village that I could come have a house in? A snake looks at me friendly. 'Cause I'm a druid, baby. Oh, what are those? Oh, no way, no way. I already fought one of those. I know I can't take those. A Yeti. I'm not so sure that I can take a Yeti. Let's try it. Oh God, no, we cannot take a Yeti. It whacked me for 24 damage. Ain't no way we're taking a Yeti. What I gotta do is I gotta look into how to make even better armor charms, because 32 armor is good. It's really good. And it was given to us by one of our friends, and I can't begin to thank them enough for it. I am not going in that dungeon. That'd be a bad idea. It's been very, very helpful. Oh, more fallen. Devilkin shaman. Ooh, looks like we got upgraded shamans here. So let's give these guys a shot. Oh, they just whacked me for 11. What's up? What? Awesome. So those are higher levels. So those are Devilkin, and they definitely hit a lot harder. So I could probably take them one at a time. What is this? Petra Temporis. I'm afraid that if I go in there, I won't be able to get back out. Otherwise, I would go in there. But the last time I went into a dungeon, I wasn't able to go back out and ended up getting murderfied. Ooh, we found harpies. Is this a harpy spawn by chance? Or is this just some random harpies? Looks to be random harpies. So, all right, we're gonna go to the other snow area. Check that out. A buddy of mine does have a bunch of them. Ooh, imps. Imps. This could work out.
Girl, I know what you need. Come and sit closer to me. We can have fun. Let's watch the sunset while we smoke on some weed.
Come on.
Let's go to the beach.
4 at once. That's gonna be a little difficult. Let's pull a couple away. Can we? All right, 3 should be doable.
Come and sit closer to
Oh,
me.
these imps are breathing fire. These are like the devil imps in the dungeon. But it's doable. They're only hitting me for 7, so. And I'm whacking for 30. Let's eat our other fish so we can swing faster, be more accurate.
When you're looking in the eye, stone this shit, man, so kid.
Ah!
Sunshine roast your skin.
What do you want? You want to get on here?
Better not hit it too hard, cause the
Here.
shit is grown in Oklahoma, so you know it's so legit.
Put that on the chair.
Sitting by the ocean with a fat blunt and some
Here.
potent shit with no regrets.
Oh, there you go. Oh, she goes onto the chair. Just like that. There you go.
We flying right over the sea.
My back does not like doing that.
Come and sit closer to me. We can have fun, let's watch the
Sunset.
sunset while we smoke on some weed. Baby, let's
I don't know if this is an actual spawn, but if it is, to be not gonna be a lot of loot, but the backs will at least have a magic item and some regents.
We can have fun, let's watch the sunset while we smoke on some weed.
But it looks like it more leads into a dungeon.
How did we end up in the ocean, playing and floating? We off that love potion.
Oh, geez, they're hitting each other when they do that. That's funny.
Break out that beast towel and some sun.
And lotion.
Tangled up on a pink flamingo, sipping tin can, puffing a gringo. Can't think of a single time as good as this. My toes, your toes. I hold it while you hit it. I know you know how we did it. When I go, you go. When I roll, you roll. We covered it in sin. Gotta go. to
What,
the
mister?
hotel, shout out
What?
to the stove.
Baby, let's go to the beach. We finna roll some trees.
Come on, forward. Thank you.
Baby, we flying right over the sea. Girl, I know what you need. Come and
Gotta get some healing going. What?
we can have fun.
What?
Let's watch the sunset while we
Are you a big boy?
Baby, let's go to the beach.
He's so freaking cute, y'all.
We getting high.
You know, I'm scared to be a dad, to be perfectly honest. I was super scared to have a baby, and
Come and sit close.
like older kids I have no problems with because you can talk to them and communicate. I was super scared of being a dad of a baby and a toddler, and it's turned out to be one of the best things that I've ever done. Like, I couldn't imagine not being a dad anymore. I mean, I was a dad before, obviously, but like, you know, because my girlfriend had kids, and you know, I'd fill that role. But it's you know, it's different when they're a baby, you know. Oh, we got him springing forth from the hiding. But we're full health this time, so I ain't worried about taking on 4 now. Not, and they're freaking hitting each other, so, you know, help me out. I'm down with it. Breathe fire all over yourselves. I'm okay with that. I really do need to write an Ender specific song. I've been meaning to. I also need to do my YouTube videos for it. I keep forgetting to do that. Like, I got the locks going, but I might have to bail and reset because 5 might be a little much. Yeah, we're gonna run and just reset a little bit. Oh, look at that. One decided to come and be on its own. I'm all right with that. You can get murder-fied. Potion slip. All right, let's get healed up. I wonder, you know what? I'm gonna risk it for the biscuit. We're gonna go down that hole. All right, we're also gonna make sure that our book is set and stuff, but I really shouldn't. I shouldn't go down that hole. And if you know that I'm gonna get trapped in that hole, please say something now so I don't lose, because I really, like, these charms are very helpful, and I do not have replacements right now. So if you know that I'm gonna get trapped going down that hole, please tell me so. What did you find? Oh, awesome! Now I can go swimming. Hey, we finally got a wrestling skill up. Woot! Alright, anybody in Discord? Nope. Now, if you want to come hang out with me in Discord, I am in the English Breakfast Discord. If you are a member of that guild, you know, it's actually a multi-guild kind of situation. I know Royal's in there, Legion is in there because I'm in Legion. I think there might be another guild. I'm not 100% sure. Quite a few guilds. Really friendly guys, and a really great group of guys, to be perfectly honest. Very helpful, and we do dungeons, and you know, basically, if you have if you're playing this game, it's a great group to belong to. We might have to run again. Am I hungry again? Is that what's going on? Hungry. No, I'm stuffed. All right, this is gonna be close. We're gonna try it. One more hit, one more hit, one more hit. Yes. Yes. Now we'll get healed up. How many band-aids? We still got 70 band-aids, so that's good. I'm very nervous about going down this hole. Very, very nervous. Never been down it before. I have no idea what's in it. And y'all are laughing on the other side, being like, oh, watch what's gonna happen to Strange. What, mister? You wanna see Dad go down the hole? All right, here we go. Oh, I can't go down the hole. Impole. Okay, I guess it's okay. That's why you guys aren't telling me that I shouldn't go down, because you can't go down. It's where the imps show up. Oh, there's another imp. I wonder if there's gonna be a bag for doing this. I mean, I gotta find all the imps because they're like, you want up on Dada's lap? Oh God. There you go. How's that, little man? How's that? Is that better? I lost my chat. There we go. Need to be able to see if you guys are talking to me. Yeah, as you wave hi to them. Hi. Hi. He's such a sweet boy. I really hope there's bags for doing this, for all the work of having to find all the imps. I mean, that being said, they're only level 5, which surprises me that they're only level 5, because we're a decent amount into the open world. You know, I wonder, you know what? I have another quandary, not quandary, query. I wonder if I can have a black bear tamed with me now, because my herding's quite a bit higher. A 33, I don't know if it's high enough for a black bear, but we're gonna try. Because it would be cool to run around with a tame with me. Oh yeah, I can't tame while fighting, duh. What a nice black bear. Where are you going, little man? I don't think I can do black bear. I think brown bear is doable, but I don't know about black bear. I upset it. Oh no. Mister, what are you doing? You want my phone? Here, just don't break it. Oh, hi, Brad. How you doing today? Oh, Brett, remind me, I gotta send you all the pictures of the tattoos that I've done. And next time you come up, you'll have to get a tattoo. Was it 3? I don't remember what I put. All right, hold on. I don't feel like having to do it over and over. Scripts. Taming. I know I have a tame script. Last levers. It. Yes. All right. I set it on T for T. That makes sense. T for taming. Yo, what was that? What was that? Brett coming in with that 38-month subscription. Thank you so much, Brett. I really appreciate it. Thank you. And believe it or not, we're almost to a payout with Twitch. I think we need like 3 or 4 more. All right, so we don't have enough herding for a black bear. We can probably get a brown bear. You know what? Might as well kill these harpies. We need the monies. We're in debt. We owe a couple people. I want to say I'm about 30,000 gold in debt right now. So, because they were nice enough to oh. Hi.
Hi. Hi. Hi.
Bien, bien.
Yeah.
I know I'm not hungry. Why am I missing so much? Listening to you, but I'll be driving home from school. Nice. How'd school go today? Although you won't be able to answer, will you?
Hi.
What are you doing to me? You want me to have the phone now? Yeah. How's that?
Hi.
There we go. School is good. Now my car's making noises. What kind of noises? Like rattle, tick, grind? Is it like describe it for me? Oh, it's your radio? Okay. Had me worried. I was like, I'm too far away to fix it for you. We could try an Etten. What do you think? Let's. Jeez, not all the Ettens. I can't take all the Ettens. I can take like one. Ah! They do not de-aggro quickly. Let's get out of here. Too many Ettens. Let's GTFO. Oh, geez. We did not want those guys either. You know what? I want to kill some more Fallen. Let's find the Fallen again. That's Devilkin. We don't want Devilkin. We want Fallen. Devilkin are out of my league. Until I can get the full set that I need for this, we gotta stay away from it. I wouldn't mind another pet, like to have a pet with me. That would be really helpful, but I need a brown bear because I need something with decent health. I could go for a wolf. We could try a wolf. I don't know if wolf is going to be within my herding, but we can try it. Ow, child. Here, play with this one. So my dad and mom are in Jamaica. What are they doing in Jamaica? Oh, we can have a wolf with us. That's nice. Wolf looks at me friendly. You know what? Let's try this. Let's try this warrior. This might be a mistake, but did the wolf just lose? Interesting. Oh yeah, because I was in horse form, which does allow me to tame, and then I switched to bear form, which lowers my herding. So I'm not within range for a. Oh god! Oh god! I just want this guy to die. Die! Die! Thank you. Now run away. As the baby's like smashing the keyboard for me. Mister! Oh my god, you're gonna get me killed. You are a menace. A menace. You know exactly when to do this stuff. Yeah, you know exactly when to do this stuff. To be the most dangerous. Yes, you do. I don't even know where that guy's corpse is now. There it is. All right, we're gonna do this. No, I don't want the. That's the guy I want. Yes, there. Attack him. Actually, we want this guy. He's already hurt. Oh, oh, you got good news? What's the good news? Actually, we might be able to kill all these guys. Is that fun? Is playing with pistachios fun? So what's the good news? You got me interested here. Nice, congratulations. I'm not at all surprised, but hey, no. Oh crap. You really do time this, don't you? When I have to run away, that's when you do stuff that I have to do things with. Here, give me that. No, leave those alone. You'll choke on those. No, shoot. Child. Do not put those in your mouth. I swear to God on all things holy. I don't know what actually is holy, but hey, you guys get the sentiment here. Like, I know you like pistachio. Come on, give me the pistachio. No, that's enough. Here, have this. Take that. No. No. Here, give me that. Thank you. You are just trying to give Daddy a heart attack today. Oh, jeez. Why, child? Why? Why are you trying to like dive bomb off of my lap? Fuck. And now you're holding on to my arm. Let go of my arm. You have a 100.95, so you got some extra credit somewhere, is what you're saying. Nice. I'm not at all surprised, but still, you should be proud of yourself. You pain in the butt. What'd you get all over me? What am I gonna do with you? Huh? What am I gonna do with you? You want back up now that now that I'm calm, and you are a little brat, you know that? You know what, we're gonna go try the ones by the town, I think. Where's the town at? All right, this way. That's a grizzly bear. If we see a brown bear, we're gonna tame it, because I'm fairly certain that I can have a brown bear while I'm in bear form. You know, we can call ourselves the Berenstein Bears or something. I don't know. I thought it was funny. I think Ettins are out of our range. Mister, you make a mess in my house. I'm just gonna have to clean it up. Because I don't have a threat that works on a 1-year-old. I'll make you watch Barney. How's that sound? Oh, that's not the one. Oh, we are way out, I think. My professor for reading, actually, the early childhood, so her and I talk a bit, and she's trying to talk me into getting my bachelor's to work in public school instead of where I currently work. Well, I mean, Which would you be happier at? That's the only question you should be asking yourself is where will I be happier? Public schools or where you're at right now? Headless. We could do a headless camp, I think. Do a headless camp. Who's that? Okay.
My brain's a busted joystick, always pulling left, scrolling through the days like there's nothing left. Biology's locked out, looping in my head. NPCs ask how are you, I pick silence instead. I keep crafting reasons not to log back in.
Why is Morn red and frozen? I wonder.
I miss that raid, now I just roam this sandbox, glitch, fade, shade. All my stats are on cooldown time.
Do I want 4? I really don't want 4 at once. But if I can kill this one before they do any significant damage, it'll be okay. Might be able to lead teacher instead of just assistant. There you go. I mean, and then while you're teaching, you could go for your master's. Really focusing on it. Because with a master's in education, you could theoretically teach high school. Hi.
My brain's a busted joystick, always pull oxygen mask just to feel something real.
Where is the vape? Everything that's going on, I think the vape went flying. That or Amanda took it without me realizing. Yeah, I have no idea. She must have took it, which sucks. I swear I was just vaping recently. Did you poopy? You did. All right. We're gonna have to go back to town because I got a poopy diaper I gotta change. No, you leave that alone. No, I'm not doing that today. You already dumped it all over yourself once. All right. Oh crap, am I out of wands? Can't be out of wands. I loot wands. That's a wand of Mark. Wand of Mark. Wand of Mark. Wand of Mark. Okay, I'm out of wands, so I'm gonna have to run back. Thankfully, we're right here. I didn't realize that the headless spawn was right there. So we'll do that when we get done with the diaper. We'll wash our band-aids and get back to it. Over the age of 5, I don't blame you. They get ornery after 5, trust me, I know. All right, we're safe. We're gonna go sit by the bank, change a diaper, and then we'll be back. We'll be right back to it. All right, hold on, let me pull up. We need a diaper change. My son, not me, you goofballs. Yes. Oh, thank you. You brought me the diaper. Now, where are the baby wipes? Those would be helpful too. Now, if your mom did take the big, I'm gonna be very frustrated. She's got both. And no, she didn't. I see it. It's in the feet. All right. Let's move this. All right, up you go. There you go. All right, mister. You know what's coming. It's time for Daddy to dive into the poop. Not literally, y'all. That'd be gross. All right. We got ourselves a diaper. Here, play with the diaper while I clean up your booty hole. All right. Up we go. Look at that brown chocolate that you never want to eat. Oh, are you proud of yourself? Oh, it's a stanky one, guys. It stinks. It's like, oh, how would you even describe it? Ah. I don't even know how you would describe this. It's just bad. It's just bad. Ah. There we go. So brat. Yeah. You're all excited now. I made Dada change his poopy diaper. Yay. And I got all dirty. I was clean this morning, but now I'm dirty. Yeah. And he's laughing at me about it, guys. Literally sitting here giggling at me like, yeah, Dad. I'm awesome.
Chasing that rush, but it's slipping from me. Start up a quest, then I wander away. Meant to find purpose.
Hi. What? You want back up? You want up? You want up? Up. You can say, I've heard you say it, okay? You don't have to pretend like you can't talk for everybody, okay? You can say the words. Booty changed. The baby's not mine, you weirdos. Oh man, there we go.
Tamriel calls, so I sat on my steed, looking for answers in books I don't read.
Little man definitely keeps me on my toes, I tell you guys what. All right, let's go back to that headless camp. But I fade away. Oh, it's sad when doing a diaper takes it out. Hi. You're so darn cute. Yes, they all know you're cute. And I'm betting they all can't get enough of it. Or is it just me? I wanted to try these guys again, because when I tried them last time, they kicked my butt. But now I'm significantly higher level. I got better gear. Hey, leave that alone. What is your obsession? You dumped a full glass of water all over yourself earlier. No. Hey, you stay off of this stuff on my desk. I'm gonna beat you. I'm gonna tickle you. That's my form of beating. I'm gonna tickle you. Yes, I'm gonna tickle you. Now what? Oh, yeah. What is that? I don't know what that was, but I want to know what it was. I don't even see it in there. We'll have to wait until I clear out my bags. Whatever it was interesting looking. Hey, I forgot to botch my band-aids. Yeah, you distracted me. There we go. We got one by himself. One by himself. Come on in here. There's a good dude. Get him one at a time. One at a time, baby. There we go. Is that better? You just know when to do this stuff, don't you? Yeah. You're lucky that Dada's not like he was when he was younger, and he understands that this is just a video game and it's meant to have fun. And that when you die, that's just part of it. Yeah, you're lucky dad that knows all this stuff now, because when he was younger, he didn't. He thought that like his whole identity was being good at video games, and that if he died, it was a personal insult. Yeah, that's how dad used to be. He's not like that anymore. Oh Lord. Oh. Okay, here. On the chair. Hey, you're on the chair. And my arm back. Thank you. You can get down on your own. You don't need me to get you off the chair. You have proven that many, many, many times. You're my little daredevil. I swear you don't understand what pain is yet. Oh, we only got 7 band-aids left. We might be able to kill the spell. Oh God, there's one hiding. How many of these guys are hiding? Like, what in the world is going on here? We're gonna have to go back and watch bandies now. I thought I could take the spellcaster, but not like this. So, but any of my buddies that are watching that play Endor, do you know of a good way to level wrestling? Because like my wrestling is significantly under leveled right now, and I'd really love to like put it on a macro or like hit a dummy or something. I don't know. Do any of you know of anything like that? It would be super helpful to have capped wrestling. You know, veterinary's going up pretty steadily, so I'm not worried about vet. But wrestling is taking a while. Oh, look at that. Can I reach the water here? I wonder if I can reach the water. Nope, can't reach the water here. That's okay. We'll go down to the beach. Nope, can't get out that way.
Skills keep me alive. It's dungeon deep, friends beside me, baby in a onesie. Diaper wipes, cool downs, shape shifts. This is gaming greatness.
You know, I've never killed the turtle. We could try a turtle. Yeah, let's give a turtle a try. I don't know. Can't tame them, which is unfortunate. I thought it would be really cool to walk around with a turtle. Oh geez, I just murdered it in one shot. Yeah, they're only level 4. Now I feel bad. Anyways. We're healing. Let's heal. Thank you. I'm gonna try and kill out that like red dude camp. I don't even know if you get anything for doing it, but I've seen it like murdered a few times, so I think there's a reward. And if not, you get decent gold from them, so you can't really complain, really. Right, we're gonna come around this side, see if we can't trap him in here. Of course, he would do that. No, don't. Oh, jeez. I don't like that. He summoned a blade spirit. I mean, I can outrun it, but still, like, blade spirits are scary. We're not doing too good here. Because he keeps running away. Buddy. Mom's what?
Mom's son put it yeah. Different.
Okay. All right, let's get healing. 2 blade spirits on me. That was brutal. I'm gonna get him though.
When I'm there in your fire, kissing every breath. When your voice gets rough and you beg me to stay, and the world just fades while you break that way.
Come on.
Yeah, I like the rest, but no one makes me
My vet's not high enough to cure poison yet, it seems. Although we got a veterinary increase for that, so that's nice. All right, let's see if the blade spirits are gone yet. I will chase you into the guards. I don't care. Oh, now we gotta run away again. Oh, Lord. 2 of them again. You see this? Man. This guy is brutal. And they just attack me. They don't attack him. Unlike Blade Spirits, when I cast them, they will attack me. We're gonna cheat a little bit and run fast past them. There we go. Go get this guy.
Level 1 tutorial, eldest in the squad, 4-player co-op, no dad like a god, NPC with rage.
I'm like stubborn now. I want this guy dead.
Weapons in the coziest raids. They tried to pause my game, unplug the screen, but I rewired the world at just H5 keen. Explored the maps.
Wow, they chased for a while.
No quest marker blinking, just wanted something more than a glitch in the code. Mom's light went dim, game froze in her room. No continuous horror.
Come on.
Scene burned in memory like a crash log saved. 10 years in, heart heavy, soul engraved.
56. He's almost dead. We can do this. Come on. Oh, no, we gotta run. Not risking it. Oh, look, his blade spirits are attacking him. Finally. Get him. Get that guy. Figures. And now he's full healing himself. Oh, what a loser. Oh, wait, that's what I do. I can't really call him a loser, but that's exactly what I do. We almost had him. Oh. Now we gotta go through all of that hit points again. We're gonna get him, though. We're gonna get him. Where's Discord at? No, nobody's hanging out with us yet. We are gonna get him, though. Like, I'm not letting this go. Your own blade spirit's attacking you, Flipper. Come on, hit him! Hit him! What the hell was that? I don't know what that was, but I like looked like a flower for a second. Was I hitting the freaking blade spirit? Yeah, I was hitting the blade spirit. That sucked. Oh, he got me cursed. Clumsy, feeble mind, and weakened. Wow. Man, this guy's brutal. I want him dead, though. Like, he's the last one in that little hut. I just want to do it. Just to say that I've done it, you know? That's where I'm at with this. What, little man? What? I could just get him caught on something so that I wouldn't have to chase it.
Shadow on the shoreline, exile branded, fate long gone. Till I met Amanda in the twilight, wielding fire like a rebel song. She had eyes like storm-tossed sapphire, and a heart that burned through stone. While the gods played dice with chaos, she carved her path alone. Oh, man,
Come on, hit him. You can do it. Hit him.
hand in hand, through the beast and
Come on, hit him.
you're the light in my flask, the edge of my blade, and this cursed land, you're the vow I made.
All right, we gotta run. We're at 24 and poisoned. Mister, you picked the wrong time every time.
Dance through temples full of whispers, faced the warden, bled and ran. You drew a sigil in the darkness, girl, you always had a plan. Your vows sang through the twilight. My
Oh, come on.
steps,
We might die to the poison. Oh,
days away when we laid our
we got it. Well, thank you. Here, you want up? Huh. You're being a little ridiculous today, mister. What? Here. Stop trying to lean over to get stuff. You hurt daddy. You gotta remember, daddy's back is all messed up. That's why daddy can't work. He can't breathe and his back's messed up. You know? All right, let's go back up. Maybe, I doubt it. I'm pretty sure he has healed himself. I don't mind. Ask her. Well, I'll just talk to her when she comes up. No, stay in here. You. That's the only reason we're like failing to kill this guy is he keeps running. We got some good hits there, though. We might get him this time. I don't care about your blade spirit. I want you dead. Come on, hit him. Yeah. We got him, yeah. Oh, and of course, right after we get him is when the baby wants to start acting like a. If you want down, just say down, mister. Jesus. I know it's in your vocabulary. No. We do not have the money for more baby wipes. Cannot play with the baby wipes. I don't even have money for tattoo needles to make more money. Yeah, this is for when you get out of the pool today, you pain in the butt. No, that's not a bubba, that's a cup. Your bubba's around here full. Like, I don't know what your issue is. And of course, the blade spirit's still up. There it goes. There it goes. All right, fine. Have your thing. I don't care. You're not gonna hurt yourself playing with it, so I don't care. All right. So it looks like we might have killed everything. Let's walk around. I don't see any bags anywhere, which is a little unfortunate, but there's a box. Maybe the box is open. Can I not open it? Nope, can't open the box. Maybe the bucket, the barrel? No, can't open the barrel. But hey, at least we did it. We did it, okay? I've been trying to do that for a while, and the fact that we just did it is actually pretty fantastic. So we'll murder all the headless here. We do need to get some food because I know that I'm not stuffed right now. After I kill these two, I'll get food. That's probably why we were struggling, is I'm not stuffed. You know, silly me. I love how they're headless, but each one has a head.
But I'm addicted to the drama here. You know that we're toxic. Ooh, disband so quick, you're toxic. Link shells lit
Hit
like
him.
Fritz Pig, still I can't seem to
I feel like that's half of our stream today is me saying hit him.
No one had worked on this clock. Still rocking sub jobs from like 2.0 stock. Eating fireworks on July 4th. Kool-Aid burst, I got KO'd on the porch. With a shout like that, you're toxic.
Yeah, let's do one more.
Chaotic, but I'm addicted
Not doc, create, it's dot cast. Create food. I really should set up a macro for it. Oh, we're too full to eat, so that's good. Oh, who is calling me now? Hold on. Yes, honey. Yes, honey. I don't know why she's doing this to me right now. She knows that I'm almost done.
Go.
What, little man? Do you want up? You're killing me. Will you decide what you want, please? What is it you want from me? Hmm? Yes, wrestling. Hello? Okay, tell her as soon as I'm done streaming, we can talk about and do whatever she wants. No, 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 child, no. You are going to learn what that word means. Okay, here, you can play with the phone, but you don't just reach and get stuff off my desk. There are things that babies can't play with on my desk, okay? And that's just the way it is. You're gonna have to learn to deal with that. As he squeaks at me with his super cute squeak. We've gotten 0.5 XP the whole stream. 0.5%, I mean. You know, you really do choose the worst times. Right as my life gets low, that's when you're trying to like fall off my lap. It's always when my life gets low. Don't know how he does it. Get down, you. I'm not dealing with you being like this. What's up, sweetie? I believe you, and that's fine. Wow. And when I come down, I will do what I can. Okay? I don't know.
Because
Did it got put on fan or something?
no, but it doesn't, like, even the one downstairs in the living room.
Well, the one in the living room's busted. I will look at it in a second. Okay?
Found all of the dogs
Oh, yeah?
are.
What is that? Lime. We'll take the lime. Maybe we can get a coconut. And that's awesome, honey. Oh, Lord. She goes, can you put the lime in my coconut? What are you trying to do, little man? He's been a little terror, by the way.
I did not have
Joystick fumble, my hands can't steer. 13 years young, she's the final boss.
Yeah. It's no fun to tell you what he wants. He wants you to know it already. Yeah, that's about accurate, Britt. She says it's no fun to tell you what he wants. You have to know this already. To the baby.
Maps all fogged, brain stuck in AK-47 mode. ADHD side quest, can't find a proper road. She's the cheat code, dropping truth on my shame. Press X to doubt, but can't quit this game.
Oh yeah, he's not harmful.
Depression potions. HP's low, but I keep the motion.
I hope this one gives give bags. Oh, we're down to 8 bandies again. Of course, we would have a headless respawn right then. I don't see any bags. Might just be a spawn. Like not a reward spawn, it might just be a regular, you know what I'm trying to say? Like one that doesn't actually spawn bags. Yeah, I don't see any bags. Take the grapes. All right, we're gonna head back into town. What did you just give me? A pistachio. That's lovely. Could have choked on it. It's so hot outside. I woke up at 2 a.m. because the power went out and I had no AC fan or fan to help cool me down and go back to sleep in the morning. That blows. We're actually struggling. Our AC doesn't seem to be pumping out that good of air, but it's cold. I don't know. You must have changed something because it's cold air now. I'm betting one of the kids is messing with it. All right, let's do our organizer. We gotta open this bag, yep. And then we hit organize now. And I'll just manually move these. Gotta get as much leather as possible for when we do tailoring on our crafter. Not nearly the amount of leather that I thought I got. How much gold are we up to? 7,643. I forget how much I owe. Let's say I owe. I think I owe Solo 10K. I need to find the other guy that I owe. I think it's this guy. Nope.
my food, I pop my ring, but still don't feel a goddamn thing. I'm stuck in darkness where the sun don't rise. No map,
Why?
no compass, just empty skies. Echoed by thoughts I can't outpace. Even warp scrolls can't leave this place. Try to queue up joy like it's mission rank, but every cutscene just feels blank.
Well, you think they'll take a bite on a regular bearded dragon?
Yeah.
Every thought's a monster, a sneak cost on. Can't see him coming.
Yeah, but how much you gonna post a little one for?
Well, I didn't know you.
A goddamn thing. I'm stuck in darkness where the sun
He's in the really nice enclosure.
In the bottom one. Ellen.
The one I made?
Um,
I can't outpace.
boss.
Even warp scrolls can't leave this place. I used to main a dragon.
Oh, it's in the black one.
So you're not talking about Littlefoot.
No.
Misfire, I lose my chain. The exp trying just feeds my pain.
No, you're talking about the one that I bought that's like the wood one with the ghetto doors.
Yeah.
I mean, you can sell it with it. You're only gonna get like $50 out of it, even though I paid 200.
But there's something in me, maybe sub-job deep. They won't whisper in my darkest sleep.
All right, where is this guy? I know I owe somebody money. I need to find his name. I don't remember how much of it I owe. Oh wait, he sent me a tell recently.
Huh?
Shell of souls who bring me home. Still stuck in darkness, but I feel the breeze.
All right, there we go. I owe him 35K, 60K total. So no, I owe him 35K. That's no problem. All right, I just want to make sure I didn't lose that, because I don't like losing my debts, like, and then like them being like, oh, this guy never paid me. Oh, I'm sorry, I just forgot. No, not acceptable. Pull that out.
A little bit.
In a little bit what?
No. Only my back hurting.
Running in the dark, chasing neon ghosts. Drinking with my demons, but they never make a toast. Out here on the dark side, lost souls ride. ADHD got me spinning, but I'm still gonna try.
Oh, it's more. Oh, it's Morn's head. We can go turn in that quest. That is wicked cool. I just happened to loot it because I'm like, what is that?
Oh, honey. Have a little bit of time. Not all.
So why did you want to wait till tomorrow?
Because that is not turned off all the way.
All the headless respond. I already found his head. Let me turn in the head.
I respond in the shadows, no cheat codes to save. Life hit like a boss fight, I rose from the grave. Controller in my hand, yeah, I mapped my own path. No save files, just scars, but I still make it.
There we go. Awesome. It was worth it too. 100 XP even though I was over leveled for it. That's awesome. That was more XP than we got the whole day.
Maybe this level had us traps more green. Got upgrades quick, new wheels, clean gear. NPC smiled wide, said you're safe here. but the code was corrupted. Kindness a mask, a side quest in disguise, just a darker task. Started school in the zone, thought I'd find my squad, but the enemies are stealthy, grinning like a god. Siblings caught fire from aggro on the map. I stepped into the flame, tried to spring the trap, but the bosses were buff, their stats way high. I took damage daily, just trying to survive. I respawned in the shadows, no cheat codes to save. Life hit like a boss fight, I rose from the grave. Controller in my hand, yeah, I'm at my own path. No save files, just scars, but I still make it last. Pixel by pixel, I built what they broke. Yeah, yeah. No tutorial mode, just a kid with hope. At school, I was target locked, cornered in halls. Outnumbered, every fight bounced off the walls. No backup, no potions, just fists and grit.
There we go. Wow, 64, that's it? I brought like 250. I'll have to grab some more from the bank. Whatty? What?
I was farming suffering just to stay on my feet. I respawned in the shadows, no cheat codes to save. Life hit like a boss fight, I rose from the grave. Controller in my hand, yeah, I'm at my own path. No save files, just scars, but I still make it last. Pixel by pixel, I built what they broke. Yeah, yeah.
What is it?
That's
No
a full
tutorial
pound.
mode, just a kid with hope. Then the devs flipped the script, placed a trap in my bed. Claimed I picked up an item that poisoned my head. Called in the
Wow.
boards, searched my pack. Scanned the data files, still no crack. No contraband, no hacks, just lies in the code. But they patched me out, threw me off the node. Kicked from the server, labeled bugged and flawed. Shipped to a colder zone, no chance to apply.
I mean, that's true.
Justice, just a lazy hot fix plan. But I kept booting up like only true slaves. In the shadows, no cheat codes to save. Life hit like a boss fight, I rose from the grave. Controller in my hand, yeah, I'm at my own path. No save files, just scars, but I still make it last. Pixel by pixel, I built what they broke. Yeah, yeah. No tutorial mode, just a kid with hope.
Really, little man? No, let's take these rather than taking clean ones. Let's wash these.
What's up, girl? What you got going today?
Yeah, we have a trial date for that next month. Yeah, definitely tell me about it.
Baby, let's go to the beach.
I'm surprised it's taking this long.
We getting higher than high. Baby, we flying right over the sea. Girl, I know what you need. Come and sit closer to me.
And don't let them lowball you either.
While we smoke on some weed. Baby, let's go to the beach.
Because I'm assuming that they were at fault, not you. Or not, you know what I mean.
Girl, I know what you need. Come and sit closer to me. We can have fun, let's watch the sunset while we smoke on some weed. Hey, have you ever been high with your toes in the sand and the sun high overhead?
Alright, now.
Then you know exactly what I mean when I say that this is bliss.
Another green is, I'm gonna bet that's int and this is strength.
Never gonna find nothing better than the time when you're looking in the
Let's take 3 of these. Yep, that's strength. Awesome.
Better not hit it too hard cause the shit is grown in Oklahoma, so
Let's go do the other harpy.
Sitting by the ocean with a fat blunt of some potent shit with no regrets. Time to hit cloud 9, sitting by the ocean shit. Let's go to the beach. We finna roll some trees. We getting higher than high. Baby, we flying right over the sea. Girl, I know what you need. Come and sit closer to me. We can have fun, let's watch the sunset while we smoke on some weed. Baby, let's go to the beach. We finna roll us some trees. We getting higher than high. Baby, we flying right over the sea. Girl, I know what you need.
Now what makes me really happy is that now Tress knows that I'm not just dodging him. Like I didn't just take the loot and run. Now that I've given him some money. Made me feel better about it too.
We off that love potion, basking in the sun, laughing, smiling, having fun. Break out that beach towel and some suntan lotion. Tangled up on
All right, and we know the first one is done because we did it, so we need to go to the second harpy spawn, which is, I would say it's not harder, but it's a little more of a pain. What's our hunger at? Hungry, we're still stuffed. That's good.
We getting higher than high, baby, we flying right over the sea. Girl, I know what you need. Come and sit closer to me. We can have fun, let's watch the sunset while we smoke on some weed.
Get him, Mr. Bear.
We finna roll us.
Oh, have you, Ivy?
We getting higher than high, baby, we flying right
I mean, we all need a break sometime.
Girl, I know what you need.
My lawyer has told me about, but he's working with everything, and he told me this is my best option out of all of them, and it's taken so long just to get a trial because the person who hit them hasn't been able to get a steady lawyer until recently. Oh. Still in the first town, and I don't know where to go next. Well, the first town's kind of like the hub. So what level are you, Ivy? Because really, you kind of live out of that town. And then you do dungeons, and you go out and... All right, 13 and 14. You can come out and do the world spawns like this, but, you know, be warned. As soon as you leave town, you are PvPable. There's 2 dungeons in town that you could do. The one with the imps, and then there's another one around the corner. I can show those to you as soon as I finish these harpies. Uh, 13 and 14, it'll still give you decent XP. Like at 17, it's, well, technically 19, because I get XP like I'm level 19, even though I haven't leveled up to 19 yet. But those dungeons don't give much XP for a 19. All right. Well, next time you're on, dude. Next time you're on, I'll show you where you can go to do stuff. So there's 2 dungeons in Douglas, and then there's a few dungeons that are no PvP that you can go to as well. And then there are dungeons that are PvP that you can go to, but again, you could get murdered in them.
Instead of biking for a boa, but go take the.
So you want to trade the boa you have for that, is what you're saying?
Trade thing for the burrow to get the boa to get.
No. I mean, it's your stuff. You do what you want, but I thought you were done with James.
I blocked them, but
Then how are you communicating with him?
I'm not thinking. I was trying to tell you. The guy.
What does Lucas want?
So it's okay. I don't know. That book doesn't have time for a big animal, like a reptile. So I sent them, and so doesn't come with every person. Yes, they. But they're more of the deadly animals anyway. And he said, I'll talk to my wife. And I sent them back. And said, I'll talk to my wife. Echo and Satan. And Boaz.
Well, Felix Moonstride walks
Oh,
all night.
good.
Silver tongue sharper than a dagger at night. Sings a sweet tune, talks his way free.
Well, I don't think doing anything with James is worth dealing with the stress. And the fact that you're pretty sure he's the one sabotaging you, why would you want to do anything with him?
Nip shakes her head, says not
You know?
again. Patching up wounds
Yeah.
with a flash of grin. She's got quick hands and a sharper mind, but she's always 2 steps behind, cleaning up what's mine. Oh, the road ain't easy, but it sure ain't dull when you're running with a bard who's got no control and a wrathful cleric.
I really wish these harpies wouldn't run away.
We make our own luck, so the legends told. We're dancing through danger, laughing at fate, rolling the dice, never playing it safe. If the guards start shouting,
All right, we got one dead. We're gonna have to heal now. At least our heals are more consistent now. We'll kill this one. We can kill him with 50 HP. I remember doing this with just 80 HP. I think I prefer Dex fish over Strength fish. Just because when I have the Dex, it feels like I hit more often. Dance, you're laughing at fate. I don't even remember what I get at 20 for druid. I'll have to look that up. There we go. Oh, that was silly. I'm not going back for it. We're actually almost halfway through this camp, which is pretty impressive, considering how long it took us for the other one. But again, I forgot to check my food at the other one. So that's probably why it took so long.
Not a chance, Moonstride, not a chance.
Oh, and this one's already almost dead. I forgot about that.
I wake up exiled, another cursed land. Mind racing faster than I can understand. Thoughts scatter like mobs in the sand. Got 1,000 bills, but no clear plan. Mirror of my mind, fractured deep. Trying to craft peace, but it don't come cheap. Writing in the dark with my heart on a beat. My soul like a stash tag buried underneath.
This one's always loaded, and I'm never gonna just run in there until I'm like level 20 and actually like max skills, because I just get pwned so fast, and getting my stuff back from in there would be nigh on impossible. I'd have to get help. Hey, what is it with you and getting knives? Can you leave the butter knives alone? Like, I know they're butter knives, but they do have a sharp serrate on them.
Depression's a boss that I fight every night, but I'm still swinging. Ain't giving up this fight. Flash for my panic, a flash for regret. Cool down's too long when I'm drowning in debt. Skill tree full, but I ain't level jet. Just respect life. Still full of threats. Brains like a storm.
Let's go down. Oh, okay. Woo. I did not want a stone harpy as well as 2 regular harpies. That would have been really bad. When I look at the view, I'm running down this atlas, can't find my way. Maps looking blurry and I'm lost in the gray. Rolling them dice like it'll all be okay, but the grind don't stop and the light fades away. So I walk this path, yeah, it's broken and wide, with a head full of thunder and a soul I can't hide. Depression's a boss that I fight every night, but I'm still swinging, ain't giving up. We still have 6 more harpies to go. Ain't giving up this fight. Chasing ghosts in the wind, but even in the dark, that waypoint glows, and I keep moving on. Of course. I'm
running down this atlas, I'll carve my fate. One step, even if I'm late. A rogue exile, but my heart ain't fake. Every scar's a socket where my power awaits.
Oh, that was convenient. I got the stone harpy by itself. We got 4 regulars and a stone left after this. It's a task, but it's worth it. You get a bag full of regents, gold, rusty coins, a magic item, and a tincture potion. XP potion. I think this one's level 15 as well. Not 100% sure on that one. Oh, stop regenerating. You know you're dead. Just deal with it. Thank you.
I was the light bearer, flaring the pitch black. Now I pace in the silence where the stars won't clap. Screaming.
Oh, that's not good. We got 3. I'm not gonna do 3 at once. Not a chance. Just not happening. I'll do this guy by himself. Oh, come on, just hit the heal. Depression's a throne with a crown made of lead. I wear it well, but it's heavy in the head. All right, good enough. Chaos, but can't hold a thread. Can't focus on heaven when I'm breaking instead. I asked you, oh, that would be funny if you could heal the harpy as you kill it.
Yeah.
Just keep it real. You made minds like mine, so how's that free will feel? I pace like a prophet, but forget what I say. Ideas go fast and they rot in a day. Every spark's a fire, then it fades into gray. I'm a genius on Monday, lost soul on Friday. I got a choir in my head that don't harmonize. Every voice tries to scream, every angel lies. I can quote your scripture, still feel despised. Still trying to find purpose in
Ezra,
I ain't evil, I'm just
stop it.
Question the plan, got banned from the good. Now I'm stuck in a loop where my thoughts can't sleep. With a mind like mine, even hell runs deep.
What is that? Is that a stone? That's a stone. Yeah, we got another wrestling increase.
They call me cursed, but I carry the weight of every misfiring mind that you made too late.
We started at 56.9 and we're at 58.2, so we're getting there. We still have a little under 11 points that we're below on. Actually quite a bit more than that because we're technically level 19, but until I level up I won't be able to get those points.
Maybe I'm the side of God that dared to ask why, and if loving too much is the cause of my fall, then maybe I'm still rising, just answering the call.
The stones actually give me 9.4 EXP, so that's good.
Sure, Diane, what do you have?
Ish.
It's your mommy.
I think 30 is max level on this server. 20 is where it gets nice. Now I'll take 2 regular heartbeats at once, but I won't take a stone regular. Or a stone and 2 regulars, I should say.
1, 2.
Yeah, dude, dragon at level 30 is gonna be sick. Cats only want me when they aren't home and don't have someone to lay on all day, right?
Pixel dreams that never sleep. I chase the colors, chase the sound, but I can't ever slow it down. Spinning thoughts like a Ferris wheel. Every
2.
Get him.
Jumping worlds can't pick a lane.
You'll notice I did level up my magery. I spent some time macroing magery, so there's that. I ran out of regents to do it though. But at least now it's 47, so I can cast some better spells. Now, one of the cool things I noticed, Ivy, yeah, rusty coins for regs are great. Druids can buff each other. So when I'm in bear form, you can actually use some, there are some buffs that you can specifically use on a druid in animal form. You're surprised Velma wants anything to do with you in general? Since I helped that shaver. Oh, poor kitty. Well, the pets, you have more spells that you can buff with. When it comes to other players, there are less spells that work. Well, what's taking you so long, bear boy? Got him. Really shouldn't let my health get that low. PvPer come out and pop me once, be like, ha, you died. Last summer she enjoyed it when it was this hot out. She actually not hiding to stay cool. I got you. So I would say yes ish. There is PvP on the server. Like the people who PvP have been really nice to me, so I haven't actually been killed. But there is, like, they've come out and like been like, hey, they popped out, hit me, and be like, I could have killed you. I think it's because they want more players on the server, so they've been being nice to me because I stream. But yeah, like they popped out and showed that I could have died. So my answer is yes, there's PvP on the server. Oh geez, I don't want to get stuck in here with two of them. There we go. I don't want the rat, I want the stone harpy. They're usually off doing their own thing. A lot of the PvPers, because there aren't people roaming the world, they'll go and punish the AFK miners that aren't mining in PvP safe zones. So that's a lot of what they do. But I have, like I said, I've had PvPers come in and like smack me once and then like not kill me. So I'm sure that eventually they are gonna kill me. All right, we got one left. We're gonna run around his cage here, heal up.
Got homes in solitude, rifted and more.
All right, that should be enough to kill him.
Books on my shelves that I ain't ever read. Same with my thoughts bouncing around in my head.
Oh, we ran out of our fish. I didn't even notice that. I was wondering why I was hitting a lot less.
Friends all moved on, took their own path. I just keep restarting, chasing what I had.
Mag.
I'm the dragonborn.
Oh, another wrestling game. Yeah, yeah. That's what I'm talking about. All right, pop it. Where are my bags? There are my bags. There we go.
Is it the curse of a hero or just my
We're gonna demorph.
Too many roads, but none that
Flippy this, and we're gonna just teleport back.
I'll stick to the plan.
But right now, I'm just a wandering man. So yeah, we need to get publicity for this server, dude. Like, it's a great server. I really think that a lot of people would have fun on it. But unfortunately, it's one of those that, like, I don't know. Like, I think it's just gonna take some time. All right, where did I put? I know I have a bag with the tinctures in it. And I always forget what bag I put them in. Well, this needs to go in this bag.
but none of them feel like they got an open door. Books on my shelves that I ain't
Where
ever
did I
read,
put the
same
tincture
old
bag?
thoughts bouncing around in my head. Meant to slay dragons, meant to be great.
No.
Mixing potions and staying up late. Friends all moved on, took their own path. I
No.
just keep restarting, chasing what I had.
What did I do with the tincture bag?
Chasing what I had.
No, not gonna be in the leather bag. I don't know why I even opened that bag. Ah, there's the tincture one. We're doing it in the money bag. So we got 1,500 from that, and we've got 1,400 there. So that's another 3K we can send to Trestlepus. Let's put these in here, and then we're gonna go in here. Organized now. Beautiful. Look at that. Nice clean bag. Like I said, some of these regents, I don't know what they're for. You know, like the Nox crystals or serpent scales, I should say. Don't know what they're actually for. But we're doing okay. We've got a few magic items we need to ID. As you can see, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 magic items now that we need to ID. One of them's rare, a rare giant axe. So these all need to get disenchanted. Best viewers. No, real viewers are best viewers. Thank you, B-Band. Sorry to inform you, but the best viewers are the ones that actually are real. Oh, okay, that would make sense. So they're probably all necro-made regs. I don't know why those are sitting in this bag. What are these? Deadwoods. I know those are. I don't know why I had all these separate. Yeah.
How about when I'm ready? Because I don't like.
Nobody likes being rushed. All right, that's empty. That's empty. Empty.
Phantom monitor. Hurts the gecko, like the crusty.
Okay.
So I sent them a picture of it. I'll find out more. I honestly don't know, and I'd rather it come from her tell about it. I heard stuff about it.
There we go.
This is what it's doing.
Yeah, that's Amanda. She's my other half. Yeah, I really do wish they had Bard on this server. I think they're planning to do a Bard, but I don't know when they're planning to do it. I don't even know why I have that bag. Oh, that's my loot bag. That's why. Yeah, I agree. I honestly, when they release Bard, that'll probably be one of the ones that I like jump on super fast. You know, I should probably put these treasure chests in the bank. I just need to get lock picks for my rogue to pick the locks on them. On Outlands, you have a character with 4 bard echoes? Damn. I barely have a full template character. My highest aspect is water. Or not water, air at 1. I just, you know, I get so bored trying to grind the aspect out. And I don't have anybody to play with on Outlands, so... And I think I would end up missing this server. For having 5 aspects to 10. Jesus, Murphy. I don't have even 1 link unlocked. Damn, dude. That is nuts.
Because if I hear one more thing about that damn PlayStation, then nobody will have.
Ezra, knock it off. You know what you're doing. You know it annoys us. Stop it before you get yourself in trouble. And wipe that look off your face. Call this on the ground. Chainmail leggings, exceptional chainmail tunic. Little man, what is going on with you? Yeah, you did, dude. Holy crap. I don't even know how to do that. Like, the problem is I know the newbie stuff in Outlands, like, you know, get your template done, but after that, I have no clue what to do. Wow, dude, I've been on Outlands for a lot longer than that, and I don't know crap.
So this guy would trying to get the girl. But yeah, like I think
Yeah, and you're still like thinking about doing stuff with them. You're driving me crazy.
Woke up this morning, health bar low. Inventory's full of pain, I can't grow. No side quest gold, no rest at the end, just 5.
Oh, nice. Well, then I'll have to get you to teach me.
Glitched out, stuck in the base. Anxiety loops like a timed escape, and I'm stuck here fighting boss.
So, won't be during our Endor times though, because I love me Endor. I didn't say that.
It said loud in the gonna leave you.
Yeah. I certainly do, yeah. Wait, which one is your Discord, Ivy? Oh, I'm getting murdered here. I mean, the fact that I killed 2 of them in a 4-on-1 situation, I'm actually pretty happy with that. Oh, right. I remember now. Oh yeah, I didn't expect you to have your own server. I just didn't remember what your name in Discord was. SEPH. There you are. I'm gonna add you as a friend as well. There we go. Oh, how'd you get lucky? What'd you get? Wow, we've already killed 6 of them. That's pretty good. Nice. So you have your own house? Now I'm jealous. For 10 mil, Jesus, Murphy. I take it there's no house slots left in anywhere. I've never had my own house. I just used the guild's house that I'm in. I forget what guild I'm in. They're really cool people though. 15 mil worth on a boat? Oh, boating's what I enjoy. Like my template is actually a fishing template. So it's a Dexter template, but instead of a weapon skill, it's fishing. Yeah, it is. It's super expensive. Oh, is it? Wow, 1K a day? No, I don't even want a house now. Is it 1K per house or is it just for the second house? Oh, okay, I get it. I know, I'm just... Right now, I'm just focusing on getting tattoo needles so that we can start making money again. How many are hitting me right now? Too many. I'm out. Oh, those are the last 4 too. Okay. Oh, we got 2? 2, nice. All right, I can take 2. Even at a little lower than full health. Maybe we'll be able to send Tress another 10K. Or 8K, I should say. You're in the Evil Alliance? What's the Evil Alliance? You gonna kill me if you see me? Is that what you're trying to say? Oh, RP guilds. Okay. I wouldn't mind getting in an RP guild. Well, honey? Right? Oh, you're in the Brigands and Orcs. Okay. You'll have to, like, explain that to me, because I wouldn't mind getting into that kind of thing. But then again, I spend most of my time on Endor, so... And Outlands definitely needs an investment of time. I think it's one of the reasons I like Endor is you can be kind of casual about it.
The grace has left me. I fall to my knees. Take me, let me finally be free.
Wow, we finished that camp quick. All right, brother. I'll see you next time. That's good timing too, because I'm about to raid somebody here shortly anyway. Oh.
Okay, guys, quick rounds away.
Wow, that hurt.
First off, you know have them out here, right? So,
An oxygen tank in my brittle chest. Life ticks down like a timer trap. Stuck in a house with no recall map. I'm flag gray in a world that kills. No healer in sight, just unpaid bills. I told stone out if the stars align, but I'm out of mana and out of
this is
time.
very false.
Eyes above the mount, stuck on the rain. ADHD dragging me through respawn pain. I tried to bar my way through Discord gloom, but my tempo's off and I've run out of room. The guilt's all rating, I missed the ping. Lost in my journal, chasing nothing. I lock down fake smiles in my backpack tight and log out early every.
Yo, we're up to 3 tinctures now. That's fun. I want to get enough so that I can level from 1 to level 10. That's a lot of tinctures. All right, let's hit the organize button. Really? There's no more in there? I guess I gotta add those. There we go. All right, let's see what else we got. Well, we're up to 5,000 more that we can send Tress. We got a small iridium ore and a wooden magic shield. And we got another map. Maps are good because I'm collecting maps to do a community day where we go around and do maps together. I don't know where I put the iridium ore. We're not going to worry about it right this second. All right. So now let's see, where are we going to go? That is the question. We've done all the open world spawns that I know about. We could go exploring again. Because we got about 20 minutes left, so yeah, let's go exploring. Meow. I am happy you found my swimsuit, honey. Well, I mean, the bottoms are the important part. That way you're not having to go through underwear. What? Go give it to your mother. Alright, I know the headless don't give anything when you kill them. Those guys will murder me. I know there's nothing over there. I wouldn't mind killing the Fallen for more red leather. If we can find them again.
Every treasure chest, empty as my soul. Searching for a triforce to somehow make me whole. Locked behind temples, riddles on my psyche. Ganondorf whispers, your fate is unlikely. Sid's airship grounded, ain't no flying free. Mountains look high, but there's no climbing me. Potions empty, fairies wings clipped, heart container shattered, emotions.
And that's the undead spawn.
Down, can't erase what's gone. Fighting chaos, but my spirit withdrawn.
Oh, we have a lot of people watching us on YouTube. Hello to all my YouTube friends. Oh, you will murder me so hard.
Oh, no, don't do that. What are you
Nope, don't want it. Nope, definitely not. Definitely not.
How would you guys for what?
I wake up in the dark, no fairy, no spark.
Who's that kid?
Broke, torn apart. Clock town ticking.
Wolves spring up, but they like me because I'm a druid.
Super alive, but you're out of the
Triforce of courage, but
so that was the
master sword
not exactly.
lost in the lost woods, drowning in rain. I've been grinding through these levels.
I told you.
What is this place?
Find a potion, but I lost it all.
Must be a dungeon of some sort.
Stories the same.
Or
But we fight through the pain.
not a dungeon. What is it?
My magic is drained. Cloud in my
Emo the Magus.
Sephiroth laughs while my sanity fades. Phoenix Town can't bring back better days. Echoes of Aerith, whispers in time. Chocobo racing, but stuck in my mind. To die with no purpose, a puppet on strings. Tifa says fight, but I don't feel a thing.
Big old snake over there.
Burn these doubts. Ganondorf lurks, but I block him out. Still got the blade, still got the fight. Even
Why am I not able to run?
finding my light. So I push through the
That was weird.
climb every peak.
Can't run that way.
Broken, the strong, never weak. Roll the credits. Not today. Gotta save my own
That was weird, right, everybody? Like,
another way.
oh, yeah, no, definitely not messing with minotaurs. I think we're done exploring this area.
So I push through the dungeon.
Nothing that we can do right now.
Okay.
Even when I'm broken, the strong never weak. Roll the credits. Nah, not today.
I do not let that
Save
get
my
up.
own soul, find
It's
another way.
pointless. But it's back to where it was.
We're gonna find something to do. We could try the ogres. Let me drop aggro. We can try the ogres.
Oh, no, put it back over.
So I push through the dungeons,
Oh.
climb every peak, even when broken.
Oh, maybe not.
Never weak, roll the credits. Nah, not today. Gotta save my own soul.
I thought we could, but we can't. They hurt. Just trying to find you guys like content that's not me going into like safe dungeons over and over and over again. You know what I mean?
Don't know why. Focus slips as the moonlight gleams. Raiding feels like chasing dreams. The guild shouts orders, I drift away. Thinking about spells I eluded today. But the echoes of shadows pull me back in this ancient temple under attack. Vex those maze has me spinning. Boss fight start, but my mind's still grinning. Flashing lights, I lose the thread. But I'm here for the loot, or so they said. Chaos reigns in this moonlit hall.
Maybe if we keep following this around, we'll find another one. Hold on, we can look. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff over here, so let's see what we can find. Because we've still got 15 minutes left.
Macro set, but did I press go? Pulling a name I didn't even know. They tell me mana, but I've gone dry. Thinking of augments I'll never try. While a 10 hurrahs casting a glare. I'm comparing shields, do I even care? Vexthal's maze has me spinning.
I think for Wednesday's stream, we'll do a few of the, not the treasure maps, but the dungeon maps. Do a couple of those, see if we can get through it. Please no recorder right now. Wait until I'm done with stream, okay? Okay. I know you're just bored.
Even with distractions, I'm all in. Vextal fades as dawn creeps near. My bag's full of loot, and my mind is clear. In the raid, I find my place.
Okay.
Lost and found in the glow of Vextal.
Looks like there might be a spawn over there. Go have a look. I don't think I can do those trolls. We already know I can't do Ettins.
Spawned in Freeport, no map, no guide.
Ooh, what's up there?
Dark with the pain inside. Pulling mobs, but they pull me back. Trying to stay strong, but I'm losing track. Got my buffs up, but they fade too fast. Guildmates
Orcs. We might be able to take the orcs.
Try to hold on. One more quest, but the weight of the world sits deep in my chest. Respawn or release.
No, we can't. Wow, those are harder than the dark orcs. So it looks like I've kind of killed everything that I'm capable of killing right now. So we'd have to like go on a dungeon or something. Wow, I've gotten hit by those guys. They hit for like 20 a shot. And there's like no way to pull them alone.
Looking for purpose, chasing a sign. Reading the lore, but can't rewrite mine. My friends leveled up, left me behind. Stuck in the grind, losing my time. Respawn or release, fight or let go. The Reaper keeps calling, but I tell him no. Every night's a battle, every day's a test. Trying to find light, but I'm lost like the rest. Camp in the spawn, but no loot drops. Waiting for hope.
You know what? He came alone. Let's give it a shot. He only hit me for 11. We might be able to take this camp. And he only regenerates for 5.
No! Purple Dunbar. I heard. Oh. Oh.
Not at all. Oh. Figures that would use the last charge. All right, we're gonna have to run back. I was gonna just port back home, but there was a town nearby though, so we'll just hit that town.
dead. Rest at the end, but I still don't sleep. This game in my mind both cut too deep. Looking for purpose, chasing a sign. Reading the lore, but can't rewrite mine. My friends leveled up.
I wonder what town this is.
Stuck in the grind, losing my time. Respawn or release, fight or let go. The Reaper keeps calling, but I tell him no. Every night's a battle, every day's a
Neat little town.
find light, but I'm lost like the rest.
Oh man.
Camp in the spawn, but no loot drops. Waiting for hope, but the timer stops. No resurrection, no second try. What if this time I just say goodbye? I used to run like Sonic through the city streets, heart full of cheat codes, dreams, and 16-bit beats. Now I'm gasping at the start screen, stuck in loading hell. My lungs are glitching, red bars flash, I can't even yell. Tried to grind my way through quests I never chose, but every go feels like a ghost in stealth mode close. I pass myself with potions made of caffeine and regret. Still I fall through floors of memory I forget. Every thought's a side quest I can't track. No mainline mission, just fade to black. Cursor spinning, can't commit. This game's on nightmare mode and I can't quit.
Okay.
I need a heal. Oxygen mask just to feel something real. Life bars blinking, I'm in the red. Press X to cry in my virtual bed. I'm stuck in
There's nobody playing UO that I'd want to rate. Everything's like the automated ones.
respawn if I had more tries, but
So
I'm out of lives. My brain's a busted joystick, always pulling left. Scrolling through the days like there's nothing.
yeah, we'll do Lizard. Lizard's a good dude.
Doubt looping in my head. NPCs ask how are you, I pick silence instead. I keep crafting reasons not to log back in. ADHD boss fight, I can't seem to win. Trophies for existing, I missed that raid. Now I just roam this sandbox, glitch, fade, shade. All my stats are
All right, everybody, I'm gonna call it right here. We had a bunch of fun. We streamed longer than normal. My next stream is Wednesday at 10 a.m. We'll be back on here on Endor. I might do some Final Fantasy tonight or this evening. Final Fantasy 11. So, you know, definitely keep your notifications going just in case I do that. I don't schedule those because I'm primarily an Endor streamer. Until next time, I love you all and thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate all the support and the fun that we have together. So until next time, as always and forever, remember to keep it strange. Take care, everybody.